Okay, so now that we kind of have a basic understanding of the layering system, I want to go over probably the second most important thing in Photoshop after learning the layering system is the history panel. So right now I already have my history panel open. It's right here. If you do not see the history panel, I'm just going to go ahead and drag it out. See if I can let me drag just the history panel out. You got to kind of grab it by the text name or the tab and drag it out. I'm going to delete it so I can show you how to make it pop up again. Sometimes you just have to kind of edit your desktop to whatever you need it to be. So window, and let me go ahead and recall my history panel. There it is. So I just added it back in, and you can drag it over here. And I usually like to have my history panel nice and big because I use the history panel a lot. So the history panel is great because I can go back in time. I can go back several steps if I kind of made a mistake. I can go back. It's basically like undoing something, but you can undo 10 steps, 20 steps, 50 steps back. I still have the document open from my layers video I just recorded. So if I go back all the way to the very top, I can go back to the very original, very first step I did in that setup. Or I can click somewhere in the middle, and you can kind of see where I was adding the text. I continue to click the further down, the further along I was in working on my document. You can kind of see the process that I did, that we just went through. And I can actually go back to any state. It's not unlimited. The computer can only store so much in memory. I believe you can actually go into the preferences and set how many steps, but by default I think it's 50 steps it'll keep on record for you. So a lot of times I just want to undo a couple of steps. So let me go ahead and just create a few quick kind of things so I can show you how the history button works. I'm just kind of fill in a circle. Oh, layers locked, so let me just double click that, no problem. I'm going to unlock it, and I'm going to create a new layer and name it circle. And I'm filling that in with red. And let's actually do a blue. This is not going to be pretty, but it'll get the point across. Instead of a circle, I'm going to do a square. Just using my paint bucket tool, which we'll go over in the next couple of videos. And let me do, I think that's good enough. So let's say I'm working along and I'm kind of working with my elements here. I want to lock that background layer so it doesn't come out. I'm going to highlight both of these. I'm going to resize it. I'm going to do all sorts of things. But say, oh, I messed up. I really did not mean to make that blue box that big. No problem. Go back in your history panel, click up once, and I'm going to be able to go back to some of these previous settings, whatever I want to go back to. Okay, so let's go. I go back to that original red circle. Where was that? There it is. I don't even want to do the blue square. I want to do a green one. So let's start over. So now I'm going to create a new layer. I'm going to do green. As soon as I make this and I continue onward with different steps, it'll erase everything I had before. So now I can go back in time. So it's really great if you just want to go back and not have to start a document all over if you don't like what you did in the last 50 steps. You can go back to what you had, restart. It's a fantastic tool to continue to use. I'm going to reference the history panel a lot. There's kind of a quick keyboard if you want to, instead of having to go in your history panel and click back one step. There's a quick way to do, let's say I make this square smaller. I want to go back to what I had. Instead of having to go back here and click once, there's a quick keyboard shortcut called Command Z, Z as in zebra. And if you click on Command Z, let's say I do this right here. I press Enter. I do Command Z, it'll automatically go back one step in the history for you. Basically like the undo. I can go to Edit and Undo. But this is just a much quicker kind of a keyboard setup. So I'm going to make this really big. Oops, I didn't mean to do that. Command Z, I can go back. This is kind of a quick little thing instead of having to manually go up and find out where was that step. So that's kind of the quick history panel.